Welcome to Fierce Fit Feminine and Other F Words, a place where women in business come to learn how to improve their health, beauty, body language, and communication. I'm Christine Brunelli, chiropractor and former beauty salon owner turned certified image consultant and business coach for women in business to help them glow from the inside out so they shine in their career. And today we are going to turn that shine up a notch with my special guest. Her name is Mahima, the founder of the Mahima Mindset. She's an international mindset coach who also created the world-class Personal Growth Academy. She has given workshops to Google, UBS Bank. She shared the stage with Richard Branson, and she is the first Black self-mastery mentor to have spoken at the Harvard Club. She is going to talk to you about how to discover your genius and live a passion that lights your soul on fire. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Mahima, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to get to know you a little bit more and also hear what you have to share with us about women finding their purpose, their mission, all the passion, all of that wrapped up into one. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, what you're doing with your work right now, and where you're located, just to give us a snapshot of Mahima before we get started.
Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity to speak to your audience. And I am living in Switzerland. I have been living here for the last 17 years. I have been living out of my home country, Zimbabwe, for I think it's 27 years or something like that. And I have a beautiful husband. We've been together 23 years in a conscious relationship. And we have this company that we have created together, the Mahima Mindset, which is essentially a personal growth academy that takes people through transformation journeys to work on, I say my mission is to empower people to be peaceful, powerful, and joyful in the now. Oh. And really feel comfortable in your own skin, feel happy with who you are today and with what's happening in your life right now. And from this place of empowerment within this presence of the now, you can, focus more easily on solving problems in your business, on creating deeper bondings in your relationships, healing transformation with your, with your parents. Let's say lots of people work on our campus on relationships with mom and dad, and also relationships with their children. And so it's just about reclaiming your light and self-love.
Oh, I love that. I love this. Okay. Because so many of us are just walking around going through the motions, right? We're just going through the motions, not really feeling alive inside. And I think we're about ready to discover some things from you. So I'm super excited. So today, what we're going to talk about is how does a woman find her genius? And then, discover and claim her mission like you have. You found something that lights you up. And how would you coach a woman? How do we start even getting to this point of self-reflection?
So self-love is the foundation. So we have like a 7-step formula at the Mahima Mindset where we take people through these different parts of our 7-step we call it the Own Your Superstar formula. And it starts with self-love. And as long as we don't love ourselves unconditionally, we live in a state of fragmentation. That means that instead of feeling aligned, grounded, centered, we feel like we're scattered, we're all over the place. We feel confusion. We feel emotionally out of balance and so forth. So the first step is to really get out of fragmentation into grounding. And that happens when we ask the question, who am I beyond my story and beyond my physical body, which is part of my story? So I always tell people, listen, you came into this world with nothing, you're going to leave with nothing. So this body is a container for something that I call the spirit or the soul, and you can call it whatever you want to call it. But at some point, this aspect of self is going to leave the body. And that point where it leaves the body, nobody knows when it is. So it means that this time between birth and death is a very precious time. And self-love is about giving yourself permission to, to get out of negative self-focus and start focusing on your soul, on your spirit, on feeling lighter, feeling grounded, feeling peaceful. And when one shifts focus away from the ego mind, and the ego mind is feeling small, insecure, chaos, negativity, it's all of those aspects of self that for most people is just, that's normal. That's not, the voice in my head is mostly negative. And once in a while, a kind thought towards myself might appear, right?
Exactly.
So self-love is about turning that around so that mostly the voice in your head is kind, compassionate, loving, and that is the voice of your soul, the voice of your spirit. And so if somebody's looking to discover their genius, which is an external talent, that's what for me a genius is. Yeah. You first need to love yourself enough to hear the voice of your heart, to hear the voice of your soul, which is, which might say to you, look, you may have studied to be a doctor, but this is not your calling. This is not your superpower. Like, there are people that's what they studied because that's what happened. Either their mom or dad wanted that for them, and that's what they did. And I actually have a true story of a person that I know, a gentleman that I know that started to be a neurosurgeon, and it started to make him ill because he was in the operating room, in this dark room all the time. And he just found that the lifestyle of being a neurosurgeon wasn't in harmony with what he wanted for himself. And he ended up quitting that and becoming a sailor.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And he won the Whitbread sailing Whitbread race, which is one of the biggest sailing races in Europe. He even ended up in the Guinness Book of Records, and he has been hugely successful as a sailor because he was able to listen to the deeper calling, which this path that I chose from a young age is not aligned with who I want to be and my values. And he was able to pivot.
Amazing. So, amazing. Yeah. I have to interrupt you here. You are kind of telling my story. And so, because you and I have not spent much time together, you may not know, this podcast, before it was rebranded, I was working with women with body image struggles because my dog was suffer with anorexia, and I had my own body image struggles with body dysmorphia. And so the whole foundation of this podcast, starting over 100 episodes ago, is about self-love. So the fact that we're talking, it's the universe wanted us to meet because I love that's the foundation of your work, that's where it starts, because that's the foundation of mine. And also I am a licensed healthcare provider. I'm a chiropractor specializing in women's health, but I wasn't fulfilled. No one told me to do that. I discovered it. I wanted to do it. I was fascinated with health and helping people with health, but I kind of made a pivot into a new industry. And I was like, this is where I belong. I feel like me here. And so I know exactly what you're talking about. I know, I mean, you're telling my story already. So putting words to how I did that is very difficult. So I don't know how to articulate what I did. That's why I don't teach people what you teach people, because I'm not good at saying, I just jump. I'm a risk taker. So for me, I'm going to just do this thing. And if it doesn't go, it doesn't go. But it did go, and I fell in love with it. So when you have a woman or anyone that you work with that is in this discovery phase of trying to figure out her genius, is there a time frame for this process to happen? Like how would you walk someone through this self-love and this discovery? And then how long do you usually see I mean, for the listeners here, like this isn't something that's going to happen by the weekend.
The thing is that everyone is at different stages of self-actualization. So that's why it's difficult to put a time frame on when someone could, let's say, discover their true genius, right? But I can give some ideas of what you want to be looking for, right?
Okay.
So one of the things that one needs to let go of when you're looking for your true talent that lights up your soul is trying to find the thing that you think, I can make money with this. That's the wrong approach. So you don't want to be thinking at the early stages of looking for, hey, which one of the talents do I want to take and master? Because that's all finding your genius really is. It's like, I have a bunch of talents. I'm an artist. I paint. People come to my house. They look at my paintings. They're like, oh my God, these paintings are beautiful. You should concentrate on your art. But I didn't do that. But it's a talent that I have, right? I have the same with cooking. I cook food. People, they're like, oh my God, like you should have been a chef. And I almost was a chef. But again, I didn't do the chef. So I have a bunch of talents. I dance. People see me dance. They're like, oh my God, you could have been a dancer. I was like, yeah, I could have been. But I don't, you know what I mean? But I didn't choose to become masterful at any of those things. I chose self-development because, quite frankly, I came from a broken background in terms of I was brought up in apartheid Zimbabwe, okay, where the fundamentals of apartheid is that, there are people that are more superior because of the color of their skin, and those of us that don't have that skin color are not, can only do this, can only do that, can only sit here, can only work over here, and are kind of you're lesser just by the color of your skin, right? And then my parents were brought up in even more harsh and hostile stories around that, and they hand it because that's what you do. If you've experienced pain, you hand that pain down to the generations, right? So pain is handed down generation to generation to generation. Right. And so part of kind of discovering yourself is to really allow yourself to start thinking about what am I gifted at? What are my gifts? What are the things that I can do well? I'm not a genius at it yet because I need to study it. I need to operate in this space. I need to do more of this. And your genius needs to light up your soul. But your soul, the soul doesn't need a genius, right? And I explain this to people all the time. I say, there are people that have known their genius, like Michael Jackson, like Whitney Houston. They knew their superpower, right? And it still didn't help them to be happy and live a wonderful life. So don't get confused, right? The genius is still an external.
Oh my gosh, I've never heard it put sorry, but that is just a one of those writer downers. Like,
yeah.
where you go, oh my gosh, that's so true. Just because you're good at it and you can make money at it doesn't mean it's going to light up your soul. That might not be the answer for your genius, right?
Exactly. And I can actually identify what happened with Michael, what happened with Whitney that probably took them off course, right? Which is the mission part. But before we even get to the mission, because it doesn't really matter if you don't know what talent you want to be known for in this world, right? So for those of you that are looking for your genius, you need to look in the places where you can do something. You love doing this thing, but you might need to do more of the thing to figure out if I really want to go far with this thing, right? So let's say you be like yourself, you were doing a completely different thing, and then you started to notice how doing that thing made you feel, or being in that industry, and you thought, well, I don't know, this doesn't really feel like it's aligning with my values or with what I want to do, or so forth and so on, right? So then you allowed yourself to start thinking, well, what would give me more joy? And you gave yourself permission to start trying different things, right? Yes. So that's kind of the basic place where you need to start. You need to say, this isn't, first of all, you need to have that honest moment where you go, this ain't making me happy,
Yeah.
period. Okay.
Yeah.
I might know how to do it. I might be comfortable doing it, but it's just not lighting me up. I'm doing it because I've studied it. I'm doing it because my parents said I should do it. I'm doing, and look, you can identify the reasons why you're doing it. So you need to be honest with yourself. And once you have that honest discussion with yourself and say, okay, this isn't it, then what is? That's when the fun can start being there, to start exploring. Write down a list of passions that you have, the things that you just love to do. And but the mind has maybe told you, oh, no, you can't do that. You can't quit this and start making money with cooking and baking cakes, right? But
Yes.
but the truth is, you could. If baking cakes is really what you love, there are people that have quit things that weren't, serving them, and pivoted to making cakes and making a successful life out of that, right? So basically, anything that you can think about, people can create money with and have created money with, right? So there's nothing out there that can't be turned into moolah.
Yes. I love this so much. And so this is something, you said something that I'm picking up on. This self-love piece. If you don't, it's how we talk to ourselves, because you said, oh, I can't make money baking cake. And you said, but yes, you can. Many people are doing it. That's where we get stuck. Right. And so it is this loop in our mind where we say, I'm comfortable here. I have security here. I'm not happy. And I do this thing, but it's not going to make me money. So why bother? So
Exactly.
that's where the self-love is foundational, because self-love is how we speak to ourselves.
Exactly. And also what we give ourselves permission to dream about, right? Yeah, because self-love is, what do I really, really, really want to do with this one precious life that I have? I mean, is there multiple lives? Nobody really knows, right? I mean, it could be, and it's out of the scope of what we need to talk about today, whether you'll get another opportunity to go on this rodeo, right?
Yeah.
But while you're in this body, why wouldn't you want to live your best life, right? Deserving the very best that life has to offer. And if you see people, wow, look at that person, they're living their talent and they're doing what they love and they're making money doing what they love. Why wouldn't you want that for yourself, right? So I think it's just about and another thing that's super important when you're in this conversation about pivoting is to be with other people that are in the conversation about pivoting, right? So you want to create, like on our campus, in our community, lots of people are asking themselves about, what's my real calling? I had a lady that she was teaching yoga, right? And she had been teaching that for a while. She loved art, and she'd been doing, like curating art. But what she really wanted to do, she wanted to be an artist. She wanted to paint, right? But because she'd been curating art, she developed all of these ideas about, like, I can't be an artist. I mean, look at all these great artists. There's Michelangelo. So she had all these concepts in her head about what it meant to be an artist, and that people would laugh at her artwork and so forth, right? And being with other people, being in the community, doing the activations, the meditations, the mindset trainings that we do, she started to just give herself permission to paint, right? Without it having to be like, hey, I'm gonna make millions with my art. Like, you can't start there. You need to start with, I love myself enough to paint because I want to paint. And so instead of saying, I don't have the right to do this, I love myself enough to get the stuff and just start painting. And that's where she needed to start, right? So she did. She started painting. And as she started painting, she started to love it. And then she painted more and she painted more. And now she just did one of her first exhibitions.
Oh my gosh, right? I love that.
Yeah. And this is within a year process that we've been working with her. And 1 year ago, she could not even imagine to just be saying, I deserve to paint, like, even without it being like, I need to sell my paintings and make money from this, right? So that you don't want to start from the point of, I need to make money from this. You need to start with, I deserve to do things that I love.
Yes.
Yeah. And that guy that, went to become a sailor, he didn't start with, I have to stop being a doctor and I have to make money with my sailing. He just went sailing, and he failed until he got the confidence to say, you know what, this is what I really love, and this is what I'm going to do. Right.
Oh, good. Did you walk through this process yourself personally?
I would say yes and no, because I'm multi-talented and I have, but my calling to help other people grow mentally, emotionally, and spiritually was pretty solid from the beginning, right? Because with 23, I call it an enlightening experience that changed my mindset. And I started deep diving personal growth. And I spent 5 years intensively, like when somebody else would be studying to be a doctor or studying to be a lawyer or studying finance, I studied inner personal development in India with a guru, right? Wow. Mm-hmm. And then that guru died, and I felt very clear calling to share what I'd learned during those 5 years, because I saw that I'd healed myself of negative self-talk. I not completely, of course, it's an ongoing process. I was only 27 when my teacher died, but still I'd spent enough time there to know that I could manifest things. I didn't need to make money, decide what I was going to do in my life. I could decide what I wanted and then manifest the money for it. I discovered that I'm a magician, that when I follow my heart, magic happens. So I discovered all these things, and I decided I need to be sharing this with people, right? And it was very clear from the beginning when I found meditation that somehow this was going to be my life. I just didn't know how it would unfold and that I would create this company and all of these things.
I love it.
I would say where I personally went wrong is that I studied a lot in the inner realm, but I didn't have a guru or a teacher that could show me how to take all of this inner juiciness and really make something with it externally. Right? So that process of turning your passion into money is something I had to hire other coaches and teachers to help me figure out. So I think that if you're looking for your genius, don't go straight into, I have got to start making money from this. It's not going to work. It's not going to, it's just got to come from, I'm going to give myself permission to do more of this because I love it. And I want to become more masterful at this. So if it's cooking, cook more. If it's painting, paint. If it's if it's making things, make things. And if it's coaching, coach. Right. And at one point, the love and the joy for that thing is going to take over, and the talent is also going to be there. So there'll be a basis from which you start to think about making money from this thing. Right.
Yeah.
There'll be a foundation because you'll have a skill set that you've developed. Yes. Right. So, so it's important to enhance your talent before you start thinking, how should I make money from this?
So good.
Let's first get the talent happening. Right.
Yes. So we're talking about our genius and being in our genius. But there's a partner to that, and that's the mission, and you work those together. So for me, my personal mission, I always say this is just, I want to make everything around me beautiful. That is just whatever it is. It could be a space. It could be a woman. It could be a scenario or a situation. I just have this yearning I love making everything around me beautiful. Can someone because I feel like I knew what my mission was before I knew what my genius was. Is that a common thing? Should we be focusing, if someone listening says, well, I know what my mission is, I want to help children, I don't know, starving children in the world. I'm picking something random. Do people get stuck there where they know their mission?
There is a danger there. There is a danger because you might not have the talent to execute on that mission. And therefore there's a disconnect. And so the passion because you need a lot of passion to become successful at something.
Yes.
Right. And you need to feel talented inside of that mission.
Yes.
Right. So it's like, if I would say, like, I want to help animals. I know that I love animals, but I'm more of a distant lover. of animals. Like,
That's
it's
funny.
just the truth. I'm sort of, even sort of, what's the word I would use, allergic a little bit to like slobbering, like, you know,
Yes.
when yeah, like, so I'm like, oh, I'm grossed out easily, right? So that's why my love of animals, like if I would be like at a horse farm, okay, and the horse puts his tongue out and it's all full of saliva, I'm already tripping. I'm like, oh God, that's disgusting, right? But I love horses, and I love to see them, and I love, you know,
Right.
dogs, but I can't be up close and getting all in it. It's just not my it's just not my thing. It's not my talent, right?
Yes.
Whereas someone else doesn't have that. They don't have that. It doesn't have that effect on them. They love to get in there. They love to get their hands wet and get that saliva on there, and everything's fine, right?
Yuck.
I think it's important to choose where you shine. So
Yes.
the genius is slightly more important than the mission, right? As a first step to figure out, right? So what is the talent that I want to enhance? Because that's where the confidence is going to come from, to be able to make anything into something, right? So which talent am I going to pick to focus on? Because if you have a too broad mission, but then when you start thinking about what's my role in this mission, does the energy still stay up? Do you still feel excited? Because there's no talent that you can say, this is what I can bring to this mission in terms of talent.
Love it.
Right? Yeah. And I think, like, going back to the example of Michael Jackson, I think that so he did the music. His superpower was the music, and I think if he would have created a mission that allowed him to feel like the music was elevating him more than it was minusing from him, right? So it feels like in the scope of things, there started to be too much of a minusing effect, right? I know, for example, one of the things he really didn't like was touring. Felt very lonely on tour. Like, at least that's what I understood when I, sort of read a little bit about it. So he had his talent, but if he could have created a powerful mission that allowed him to thrive with his talent, maybe it would have gone upward as a kind of energy as opposed to spiraling downwards, right? So you do need to have a powerful thing where you feel that's my talent, that's my superpower, that's what I love. But then there needs to be an emission that can empower you to focus away from yourself.
Yes.
Right? So maybe the focus came too much to himself, being a perfectionist, being, wanting everything to be perfect, every song, every move, every day. So it was too self-focused, as opposed to, hey, this is not about me at all anymore. Yeah. Here's my talent, and I'm going to use this talent to make the world a better place, right? And I'm going to take all the focus away from me. I'm going to turn the spotlight away from me. And I think in that space, he could have probably thrived more, right? But there was a lot of spotlight, and especially if you look at towards the end of his life, when he was trying to create the second concert, there was so much pressure that he needed to take pills to sleep and all this self-destructive behavior, I believe, is reduced when you can have a mission that elevates you, and it's not about you, right? Yes. So you need to be powerful, you need to be grounded, you need to be centered, and healthy and thriving, so that you can execute on this beautiful mission to help others, right? But we can't do that when we're depressed, when we're not well mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Very difficult to truly focus on a mission, right? So I feel the mission should bring you up. It should elevate you. So, for example, my mission is to empower people to be peaceful, powerful, and joyful in the now. I'm all about, hey, look, we can try to build a future time that's wonderful for you, but you're alive right now. Okay, so how can we shift your perspective in this precise moment so that you can start feeling elevated, peaceful, more loving to yourself and the world around you, right? So I'm into that system hacking so that you can let go of the past, let go of the future, and allow yourself to just be present with what is happening right now in front of you. And I do believe that in this power of the now, you only ever have two choices. You're either feeling some form of negativity or some form of positivity, right? And
Yes.
if you start understanding that, you can start healing yourself and moving forward in a more powerful way, right?
Oh my gosh, this is gold. All of this is so good. Okay, I have so many questions, but one of the biggest questions I have is, let's just say you're working with a woman who she doesn't believe she's a light. Like you said, you're a light right now. You
Mhm.
are a light right now. So if she's under the mud of life, right? Maybe she has a sad marriage. Maybe she has a wayward child, maybe whatever. We as
Yeah.
women, all different things that we're trying to maintain to keep everything going on the external. And when you tell someone you're a light right now who
Mhm.
doesn't believe it, where do you start? Where does this person start if she doesn't feel like she's a light? Because I'm thinking this is your work, right? This is how you
Yes.
help someone. And maybe that's a takeaway for somebody listening today. We're, besides finding you, which we're going to talk about when we're done this conversation of
Mhm.
how women can find you and work with you more. But what would you say? Like if they don't know or believe that they're a light right now,
You
how
need to make a decision to find somebody who believes that they are a light and hang out with them and learn from them.
okay.
It's that simple.
Okay.
You cannot get yourself out of the darkness if you don't believe that there is a way out of the darkness, right? You need someone to follow. You need someone to lead you. You need someone to hold your hand and say, we're going to do this together. Come, I discovered the light, and this is the pathway to that light. That's what happened to me. I didn't get all of this wisdom by just being like by myself trying to figure it out.
Right.
What happened is I had an experience inside of a community that opened my eyes that, hey, wait a minute, how I've been living, how I've been thinking, how I've been feeling, it's just, there's another way to live. There's another way to think and feel. And all of these people that I was hanging out with were on that way of thinking, feeling, and being. And that's what allowed me to go, I want what she's having. I want what he's having. I want, look at how happy he is. And that being around those people was infectious and contagious. So peace, joy, power, abundance mindset is contagious. So if you are hanging around with people that are in the let's say in the shadow, in lack, in depression, then of course it's going to be difficult to pull yourself out of that, right? So you have to have the courage to say, I want to be with people that are not where I am. I want them to be further than I am, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And I'm not going to feel bad while I'm with them. I'm going to be like, pour into me, please.
Yeah.
I want to learn. I want to learn.
Yes, this is the whole concept of we become the 5 people that we hang around with most, right? Like
Exactly.
when we're around people that are stuck in chronic complainers, chronic venting, chronic anything that's negative, it keeps us down, and it does dim our light, even if we are the strong one in the group, right?
Exactly.
You are the one that's the most positive. It doesn't encourage you to even expand your light more. So I love that tip so much.
My biggest success came because I got out of my comfort zone and started to hang out with people that were way further than me. And most people feel insecure about that.
Yes.
Right. But I knew, because there was a period between the age of 30 and 40 where I was like, not being fully conscious of who I surrounded myself with. And that was a pretty challenging period of my life, I would say, when I was trying to grow the Mahima mindset and really make something out of my passion and all of that. And I failed. I did. I was my 40th birthday, and I felt like I was in debt. I was in financial debt. I was living a life that everyone thought is, oh my God, this woman is so lucky and fabulous. Because I can create beauty all around me, and I think I was living in Switzerland. We were living in a beautiful apartment, so everything looked great on the surface. But inside of me, I knew I hadn't even written my international best-selling book. I hadn't, shared the stage with Sir Richard Branson at that point. I hadn't, traveled and spoke on stages with Les Brown. I hadn't done any of that stuff because I was not hanging out with the right people.
Oh my
right?
gosh.
And
I
as
have to
soon as
stop
I
you.
realized, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I know you're, but how? How did you do that? Where you're located? Was this online? Was this going to conferences and events? How did you do that? Because that's the question I know this listener is asking. Yeah, great. That's all good and fine. But I'm in the middle of nowhere. I don't see I don't see these people. So how do we do that?
The universe helps us. We're living in a friendly universe that is designed to support us. And I mean, this may sound cliche, but it's true. If you're listening to this podcast right now, I could be your how. And it's just about going, oh my God, what does this lady have to share? Let me look it up. Let me go. That's how it happened to me. Someone gave me, I remember what created a shift in my consciousness at my 40th birthday. Someone gave me a CD of this person, this motivational speaker guy. And I was listening to it, and there I something went off inside of my system. I was like, oh, that's the piece. That's the piece right there. And so I started listening to this guy. I just started listening to everything I could get my hands on. And that started to propel me to understand where I'd been stuck in terms of trying to create, a business from my passion. And then that made me realize, oh, I actually need a business coach. I need someone who can coach me one-on-one. And then boom, weeks later, I manifested that, right? And you have to have courage to follow it's serendipity. It looks like, are these coincidences? No, everything's happening for your greater good. There's a magical thing happening here on this planet. And if you start looking for help, you find help. That's how this works, right?
That is so good.
Yeah. So it's just, you make a decision, like, I want to change the people I'm listening to. You make that decision, and then you start doing something to tell the universe you're serious about it. And then boom, 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 things will just start happening. So the how is about, first of all, just making the decision. If you're listening to this and you're like, you know what, I'm sick and tired of feeling shit. I'm sick and tired of my story and this heaviness and whether it's lack of financial success, whether it's, I'm not really living my passion, I'm going to shitty jobs that I don't like, whether it's my relationship is stuck and I don't know how to get out of it, and it's maybe not even a healthy relationship for me. Whatever story you're in, the first step to transforming that is making a decision that you're done with this shit. Yeah. Just like, I'm so done with this. I'm ready now. Okay. Universe, yes. I'm ready for something else. Okay. And then follow any thread that lights up your heart. Right. So if it's this podcast, or if it's some other thing that someone's going to say to you, it's some other advice, and follow that impulse that is aligned with that decision of, I'm so done with this. But make the decision to be done with it, because that's when I've, created the next level in my life. When I've been honest enough to, sort of go, like on my 40th birthday, I was like, you know what, Mahima, you've let yourself down. This is bullshit. Yeah. You should be further on all the levels. Yeah. I really had to own it and not telling myself, that's okay. Everything, I'm fine. It's like, yeah, you got to stop that story and just own the shit. Right.
Well, and you know what? You just hit on something. I'm conflicted on this. We do have this movement of be gentle with yourself, be easy, let it evolve slowly, and, just don't force anything, which I agree with. Right. Mm-hmm. But then on the flip side, we have, you need to take action. You need to make a decision. If you're not happy, you need to decide. And that's a dance, I think, between, yes, we have to be gentle with ourselves, and we have to, just forgive ourselves for, or accept and love what we've done so far. Like, just let go so that we can make the decision. Because I think a lot of times I hear a lot of coddling, and I think sometimes I'm more of a straight shooter. And so I really appreciate someone saying, you're going on the wrong, this is not the right way to go. Right. This is, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to belittle self-care. I'm not trying to minimize that, but I do feel like there is a trend toward mediocrity is okay. But if you're not healthy inside, if you don't have peace and joy and all of the things you're talking about, then mediocrity really isn't okay with you, right? So we do have to be really bold to make a decision to say, I'm done.
Yeah.
Done
Yeah.
with feeling dead inside, right? We
Yeah.
can't coddle. We have to be our own best friend and say, come on, we're getting out of this.
Yes. And it's one small step. It's one, because it's just that next step. Okay. So you make the decision, I'm done with this, and then find one small step that you can do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
To send this message to the universe that wants to support you, that will go. And I tell you, it's a miracle what starts to happen when you can sit in, I'm enough and I'm okay and everything is fine as it is right now. That being said, this shit right here needs to change.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if you, for example, like when I had the thing with my 40th birthday, I was financially dependent on my husband. My business wasn't generating the finances for me to have that financial freedom. And I was just done with this at one point. I was like, I don't care. Like, peace and love now, happy days, all fine. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But this right here has to change. Okay. And so it's about being able to feel like it's not a desperation, like I can't bear this, that has to change. Not at all. It comes from a much deeper place, actually. It comes from the self-love place that I said before, where you just suddenly feel inside of you, a switch goes on, where you're just like, whatever I wasn't willing to do before, for whatever reason, now I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to try different things because I love myself enough to say, you know what, Mahima, you need to move out of these circles of people that you know. You need to take risks, go to events, do things differently. And, the actions you will take after you've made the decision is what will create the openings. But you've got to do something after that decision, even if it's a small, tiny step, like listening to a new podcast that you've never listened to before, or, buying someone's book that inspired you, that talks about, inner peace, or whatever it is. But do something to confirm that you are ready to be in radical action to create something, new around a certain area that has been causing, suffering and pain in your life.
Giddy up, let's go. You've got me so excited. Just so excited. So if you are listening and you're like, I need more of Mahima, I need what she has, I want what she's having, can you give us a little, when you invite people to work with you, is it in your academy? Is it online? How would you bring somebody along that's listening that wants to know more?
Okay, so for right now, if you feel like, oh my God, I need to hear more, I would love to offer you a gift. And that gift is a free membership with the Mahima Mindset, essentially, right? And in that free gift, you would get 3 things. One of them is my international best-selling book, which has my inner peace formula in it. It's a 3-step formula that makes you start to understand how to get to more inner peace. Because if we're going to do anything meaningful in life, we need to know how to stay grounded, peaceful, mentally and emotionally and spiritually, right? So that the book, it's an easy read. People love it and they get great value. So you're going to get that for free. You're also going to get my 7 days reprogram your mind. I'm all about change your perspective of how you see yourself and the world. If you're seeing, there's many layers of things that are going on. So, a lot of the time we focus in on a specific layer and usually that's a negative layer, even though all of this other stuff that's positive is going on over here, right? So with my 7 days reprogram your mind, you're going to be able to start shifting away from negative focus to positive focus, regardless of what's happening in your life right now. Because my teacher, what he taught me and what I love to teach people is an inner peace, a love and a joy that's not dependent on external circumstances, events, people. There is a love inside of your heart right now. There is a peace inside of you right now. There's a joy inside of you, which is not about you getting recognition, getting money, getting people to like you, getting the promotion. That's all external stuff. Yeah, your soul is enough and you're whole. So in my 7 days reprogram your mind, I'm going to start shifting your focus back to your soul essence. And then there's my 21-day meditation challenge, which is like a 15-minute a day, just, with any, whether you're advanced meditator or just beginning, it will give you a challenge to be in stillness, to be in lightness for just 15 minutes a day, refocus back on grounding here now. People love it. I work a lot with stillness inside of the meditation, breathing that helps you to anchor yourself. And so, it's a pretty joyful dance to do the 21-day meditation challenge. So that's all free. And you can just go to the mahimamindset.com/free. And Mahima is spelled Mahima, the mahimamindset.com. And you will see it right there. Sign up for the free membership, and you can start working with that. And once you do that, you'll be able to start getting information about events that we run. We do live trainings. Like I have this beautiful retreat, but it's like an online or offline. It's a 3-day journey into hacking self-love, and then looking at, now that I love myself more and I'm listening more to myself, what do I really, really, really want to do to make money? Because so many people are attached to making money for survival modes, but not for, this is my passion, this is my pleasure.
Yes.
Right? So during this 3-day retreat, you can sort of start to examine, are you on the path of making money, through your passion, or are you on the path of survival, which is struggle? I hate what I'm doing, but it makes me money. And if that's you, you can change that. I help people do that all day long, every day. Yeah.
And I'm going to assume that's global, correct? They can be anywhere in the world.
Yes, absolutely. Because it's online as well, our retreat. So, I'm all about the pivot. I'm all about the, whether it's work or relationships or health. It's like, this shit doesn't serve me anymore, but I feel stuck. I feel like I don't have the energy, passion, drive to change it. I can help you. I can help you get the passion, the energy, and the drive, right? Because when you connect with your soul, it comes from a different place. It's not this forcing that you talked about before, where I have to force myself to eat healthy. My students start losing weight after struggling for years, just because we increase their self-love and connection to themselves. And then suddenly they realize what's happening when they take the decision to put food that isn't aligned with energy and light inside their body, right? So it just becomes like, oh, of course I'm going to have the healthier choice. And it's not a struggle. It's more easy, because it's like not coming from that place of, you have to, you can't, right?
So good. Well, I'm going to make sure, if you're listening, the link that she just mentioned is in the show notes. So you can go right there right now as you're listening, tap the link to get her free membership, and you will be, I'm sure your inbox is going to be flooded with light and peace and joy and transformation. Is there anything you would like to share before we sign off?
I just want to say to you, Christine, thank you for doing this. Thank you for spreading your light in the world. I can just hear from your voice and your energy what a beautiful being you are, and that you give yourself permission to do your passion, and then reach out and help others by to thrive. More people need to be experiencing this. So I'm glad you're out there doing this and getting the message so more women specifically can know there is another way to be doing this.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been awesome. And those of you listening, so much love, and just keep working on that self-love. It's the secret to everything.
Was that amazing? Oh my gosh, how she ended it with the laughter. I hope that you take that into the rest of your day. My friend, if you are not subscribed, hit the subscribe button right now so that you get notified the next time a new episode is released. And until then, have a fierce, fit, feminine, and fabulous day.